All right, welcome back. JP Morosi leading the league on a Monday with fresh information. JP, good morning. We knew this was the time of year when Roki Sasaki's timeline would determine where he's going to pitch here stateside. He's saying goodbye to Japan.
Sayonara.
Yep, sayonara, in other words. Give us the timeline and some of the likely suitors for his services.
Matt and Harold, good morning. This is very likely the week when we will learn where Roki Sasaki will pitch in Major League Baseball, because Wednesday begins the international signing period for players who are classified as amateurs. And that is still the case for Roki Sasaki, given his age, which of course is a key reason why so many teams are interested. And that list includes the Toronto Blue Jays. According to Ken Rosenthal and Andy McCullough of The Athletic, this is very recent news that was reported by Ken Rosenthal and Andy McCullough that the Blue Jays have met with Roki Sasaki. So they now join this group of a little more than a half dozen teams with still active interest in the Japanese superstar pitcher, Roki Sasaki. Again, he is 23 years of age. We saw him dazzle the competition at the World Baseball Classic. Still some interesting developments there with respect to his overall projection. He is not necessarily a pitcher who is already fully developed in the mold of a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but we do expect him to be one of the star rookies MLB. He's not necessarily, guys, going to sign with the biggest market. He is drawn to teams that have a really good pitching development plan. The Blue Jays notably have done a very good job developing young pitchers, most recently Bowden Francis, who came on and really pitched well for them in 2024. So the Jays have joined the list of teams that include, and in many ways are headlined by, the likes of the Dodgers and the Padres.
All right, let me lock in on the financials.
Okay, great lead, D-Row, great lead. All right, we talked about this before, but it's worth bringing it back. So explain his market. Is there a locked-in price that you can go to, or is he really like a free agent and they can continue to offer him whatever you want? Because when I started hearing Blue Jays and Sasaki, I'm thinking, hey, they offered Ohtani $700 million. That's what most people would think. Explain the restrictions of the contract.
Good call.
Yes, very, very important point here, Harold, because at this moment in time, as I mentioned, that he's classified as international amateur and counts against the team's international amateur signing bonus pool. Because he is not yet 25 years of age, he cannot get the mega deal like Ohtani or Soto this winter, for example. So the signing bonus for him is likely to be somewhere in the $3 to $4 million range, maybe $5 million, but it's going to be in this narrow range because he has to fit within the confines of a team's international signing bonus pool, which is why, to be fair, Harold, a lot of teams have held off on some of their decisions about where they plan to allocate their money once the international signing bonus period begins on Wednesday, January 15th. That window runs up against now what the posting window is for Sasaki, which concludes on January 23rd. So by definition, within the next 2 to 10 days, we're going to find out where Sasaki is going to sign, and that will likely influence to some degree how teams view the rest of the free agent pool, even though, Harold, to your very important point,
$3 or $4 million.
It's going to be a $3 or $4 million decision, and that is where a lot of teams have to be focused because, by rule, that's the pool that he fits into.
Have there been, oh, that's disgusting, sorry. Have there been teams, JP, that have been trying to make themselves a little leaner in terms of international money for this moment? Like, has this been like a slow burn for a couple of teams to get ready for Sasaki?
It has been for multiple teams. And to be fair, we won't know the full extent of exactly how teams have planned out their international classes, if you will, until 2 days from now, because that's when we typically hear and understand maybe agreements that are happening right as things begin. That'll start to become clear about, there are a couple teams now who have a couple $1 million that they haven't spent yet, and we start to wonder why that's the case. And
okay, hold it right there, JP, right
Sasaki.
there. So $3 or $4 million. If you're a U.S. player. They have control of you for 6 years before you're a free agent. Is this a 1-year contract, 2 years, 3? What is the control here?
Same exact thing. A really good analogous case, Harold, is the Angels with Ohtani when he first came over.
Yep.
It's 6 years. This is a minor league contract with a signing bonus that has to fit within the international pool. And just like the same rule was for Ohtani, you will have control of Sasaki
Or
for
Vlad or any of the international players. Got it. Perfect.
All right, so Sasaki's decision is pending and forthcoming. Let's go big picture here with you, JP. The 30,000-foot view, we're about a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting, which is amazing. Beginning of the offseason, we said on this program that I think that the Red Sox hold the key to the entire offseason. If I were to identify one team by which their behavior would set the market, it would be Boston. What say you now that we're getting closer to spring training?
Matt, that is an excellent point and probably as true today as it has ever been because of their interest in still the guys that remain the top free agents available. Here's the list. It's a pretty strong list. There are a number of difference-making players when you think about Pivetta, who, of course, is one of their returning players. But let's focus right now on someone on the left-hand side of the screen in Alex Bregman. Now, Bregman played for current Red Sox manager Alex Cora when they were both in Houston. Let's listen to what Alex Cora said when Tom Caron of Nesson asked about how potentially and hypothetically Bregman could fit into the Red Sox infield and if Rafael Devers remains the Red Sox third baseman of the present and future.
Rafi Devers is our third baseman. Alex was a Gold Glover at third base, and we all know that. But in 2017, I had a conversation with him, and he needed to play third because he was Correa and Altuve. I always envisioned Alex as a Gold Glover second baseman. You know, his size, the way he moves. You know, it felt kind of like you will be a second baseman, but he has played third base at a high level. So we'll see where he ends up, and we'll see where he ends up playing.
By the way, how about that beautiful tableau of Alex Cora speaking with the snow falling behind him, the monster in the background? And how about that swing, this swing of Alex Bregman if he should sign with the Boston Red Sox? I tend to agree, and obviously Alex knows the infield so well. He's really understanding of that part of the game. To understand what he would mean, what Bregman would mean for the Boston Red Sox and how well he would fit in that part of the diamond and in that lineup, how great he would complement the lefty bat of Rafael Devers. The swing would play there, Matty and Harold. I think that Bregman, in so many ways, an ideal fit for the Red Sox if he's willing to play second base because of their commitment long-term to Rafael Devers. A couple quick additions before I throw it back to you. Tanner Scott and Nick Pivetta. Tanner Scott, there was a report from Will Salmon in The Athletic about the Mets meeting with Tanner Scott in recent days. Now, Tanner Scott, very importantly, because he was traded at the deadline, there's no qualifying offer attached to him, so pay close attention there with the Mets potentially being a fit for Tanner Scott. Nick Pivetta, though, and this gets back to something you guys talked about in the A block off the top of the show. Nick Pivetta turned down the qualifying offer. And you talked about opt-outs and how that might work. If you're going to give up a draft pick to sign Nick Pivetta, I would almost say if you're going to get Pivetta, you'd want to get a multi-year deal to justify giving up a draft pick to sign him. I have a hard time thinking for someone that the qualifying offer was a real consideration as it was for Pivetta, to give up a pick and only get Pivetta for 1 year. I'm not sure that works for teams. I think that if you get Pivetta right now, after giving up a pick to sign him, as long as you're not the Boston Red Sox, you would want to get him on a multi-year deal without the opt-out to justify the expense of giving him up. I think the Toronto Blue Jays would be a good example of this, especially if they don't get Roki Sasaki.
Hall of Fame with you a little bit later on if we have an opportunity to circle back to that. We are a week and a day away from the announcement show, and JP has a lot on the Hall of Fame, of course, as well. But the latest on the free agent market with JP Morosi. Thanks, JP.